It's Chris Hussein here, back from C&H Smudge again for another informative gun review video. This one deals with the DDI AK, the milled forged receiver AK. This is the last review I'm doing for the rifle right now. Basically, I got the gun as probably about as far as I can get it tricked out, if you want to call it that, for an AK. And I'll show you what I have here for the exact setup on here. Plus, I'll give you a rundown of all the complete stuff that has been done to the gun completely since I originally purchased it. And I'll just basically, if you want to leave a review or you want to ask a question or something like that at the end of the video, just leave me a message up on the page, and I'll try to answer any questions about that as well too. About the specifics on the rifles, details and stuff like that for that. So I'll show you what I got here now. Take the cover off on the end here. It's always a good idea to have a cover on the end of your barrel out here. You store your safe, stuff like that out there. Just keep from crap and falling down inside here. So right now, this is the final review. The other things I installed in the gun are always, you can see right here. The first one is the PKA Venezuelan Zero or Red Dot, called Red Dot scope here for that. And it holds a zero pretty good for this one right here. We took it to my cabin here this past weekend, and I basically zeroed it. So it's shooting a little bit to the left right now, but I don't really have a real good bench up there yet to try to basically keep the gun completely steady out there. So it's shooting me about a half an inch to the left, probably about 20 yards up there, because most of these Red Dot scopes, they're solely for shooting in close quarters combat. It's not a precision optic scope for like long distance shooting. It's basically real close quarters combat, stuff like it. All they are is a reflex sight, sort of like that. You've got a holographic like EOTech or similar out there, similar to that, but that's basically what their original design intent was for all intents and purposes out there for that. And one of the other things they got on here is a CRS Customs, we're going to call it SRVV jet style or clone, whatever you want to call them out there for that. I got that off of Circle 10 AK, and it works quite well for the gun I have here. This is the actual short one, because they have two different variations. They have the short one, like this one right now is on here, and you also have a secondary long one. It's about another, probably about an inch and a half longer. That I'm going to call the mouse right to your end of your barrel. But this one's the only one they had currently for the 14mm threads, so I got the shorty one. I was thinking maybe in the future I was going to get maybe an SRVV one right off their website and put the 4-port, because I personally myself really like the 4-port design because of that. Even though it is heavier than this style, even it's probably about another maybe 3-4 ounces I think on the website, but overall, my personal preference is the SRVV Jet 4-port 14mm one, because I got it on my other DDI AK, and I also got it on my SAM 7 underfloor one, and basically it nullifies the majority of all the recoil, plus it keeps the gun nice and flat, as opposed to the typical AK-74 break that has a little bit of a jump and rise and stuff like that for that. But it does work quite effectively, I'll say that. I'm not going to talk bad or talk trash or anything else, so I definitely give the CRH Customs Jet, or the Jet style SRVV one, I shouldn't say more exactly, 2 thumbs up in the overall form and function of it. So it definitely does what it's supposed to do out there for that. It eliminates the majority of the jumping around and stuff like that, and keeps the gun nice and flat. So the other thing I was telling you about was the PKA Red Dot scope. I got this one on, you won't believe it, eBay on here, because I got another one of these from one of my other AKs as well too. I got off of Clink Optics, the other one, and I got this one off of eBay for about $199 plus shipping and handling. It was basically, I got new. I think it was called new, sold as is, like old stock or some kind of demo stock model out there for that, and it looks identical to my other one, my other Venezuelan PKA Red Dot as well too. And there's one thing you do have to be aware of with this specific style. your elevation and the windage on here, you have very small increments of adjustment or for that. It might take maybe 20 or 30 clicks to get the thing moving the properly to where you actually want to go, because whenever I took up the range here, I completely forgot how to zero this scope because I zeroed it on my other AK for my other arsenal my other arsenal rifle I had, and basically what happened was I forgot which way it was left and right on her and stuff like that for the windage and stuff like that, and I was cranking counterclockwise after I got the elevation basically put to where I wanted, and what happened was it was going over to the right, and I was like, what the heck's going on here? So I just twisted the other way, and it went over about maybe 2.5, 3 inches over to the left, and so basically right now I got them both dialed in, so it's basically shooting probably about 1.5 inches to the left right now, I think. Well, I should say 1/2 inch, maybe about 3/4 of an inch to the left, and it's basically dead nuts for the elevation on at about 20. It's about 20. I was trying to zeroing it at the closest distance I can possibly get, around 20 yards, and start right there and go out there later, like some further data out there. So that's what you typically want to zero these things at. You're going to be shooting close quarters at and stuff like that, because it basically overrides your I want to call it your iron sights and stuff like that. Even though I didn't set it up to have a code witness, because you can have a 1/3 code witness on here with this as well too. You can basically set your rear ladder sight right here to the bow setting or the 300 yard setting and have a code witness. So it'll be a 1/3 code witness. So whenever the scope is actually you're actually looking straight through it, your rear sight and your front sight will be about 1/3 on the bottom of your actual reticle underneath there. So you'll be just sitting about 1/3 on the bottom of the reticle itself there. So that's why they call it a code witness, but it's code witnessing the same thing you're shooting at. So it's like a backup if something should happen to your scope and you don't have to have any issues, trying to figure out what you're actually shooting at and stuff like that for that. So that's basically the review for that specific setup right there too. And these scopes also take a double, I think it's a double. They take a AA battery, so I'd recommend sticking a door cell or one of those high capacity Energizer batteries in there, because it'll probably last maybe 2,000 to 3,000. I think 2,000 to 3,000 hours. I think you can leave them on for that, and the optics is very clear on these things too. Their main Belmo over there, the Belmo optics plant, and you have. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 8 clicks, and you have 8 different settings for the sight itself under for it as well too. And normally, if you're shooting in the dark or a dark room out there, you only have it maybe on 1 or 2 out there for that, stuff like that. Because you're in a dark room, you want the dot to be as small as humanly possible. You don't want a big blob, because if you're in a dark room, the blob becomes a, or I should say, the dot becomes a blob, because it gets really intense and bright. It sort of acts like a halo effect on her for that. And I would only turn up to about maybe 5 or 6 whenever you're outside shooting it, because you turn up any higher than that, it just turns into almost like a blob or something like that. Therefore, it really becomes ineffective and not practical to use that. So basically, if you're shooting in dark, like I said before, keep it on about 1, 2, or 3. Then if you're outside, you got a lot of light out there, take up to about 4 or 5 out there for that. Then that's basically how I practically did the zero, because I was up the cabin here this past week, and we had sun directly overhead, so we have a lot of light coming down around the scope itself. So I just basically kept it on about 4 or 5 when I was outside with it and stuff like that. So it kept the red dot nice and small in there for that. Plus, it also has one other setting on here. Basically, what it does is it goes 0 to 8 on here. Then your next setting is for the actual night vision on here as well too. You have your regular 0, then you back it off another turn on, and that 0 is basically for night vision applications. So you can put a night vision apparatus or a scope adapter on the front of this red dot, and it'll basically work with your night vision and stuff like that out there as well too. So that's a review about that, and I got a couple other modifications done on this rifle as well too. The first one was I took the in my previous video I made about the Tapco G2 trigger in there. I swapped that out, and I basically purchased a KREBS custom single hook trigger that was basically professionally done by Mark KREBS off the site on there, and basically that trigger is almost like smooth as butter. Basically, I got off of Circle 10's website and I dropped the thing in here and everything else, and it's basically smooth as butter. I can't believe how smooth it was, but it was basically 10 times better than the factory G2 single hook trigger. So I just basically swapped that in, as opposed to leaving the original double hook. The original double hook one was working perfectly fine, but it was still a little bit gritty, and I really didn't have any polishing machines or like buffing wheels and stuff like that to buff it up nice and good on the hook areas, and also on the two angular pieces where the hooks grab on the actual hammer. So I just ordered one off of Circle 10's website and slapped it in the gun here, and it seems to be working perfectly fine for me for doing that. So I think that was I think it was the last upgrade I did on here. I think one of the other upgrades I did was the actual trigger access pins. I put new trigger access pins. The ones I put in here are CNC machined. They're actually longer than the original one. You can see them. You can probably barely see, but they are bulging out of the receiver. Probably about let's say about maybe it's a little bit more than about 1/8 of an inch. It's almost the same length as the actual stop for the safety on it as well too. So they're CNC machined, they're American made, and because they're a little bit longer, they do give you optional insurance that you make that the access pins ain't going to be walking out of their holes and stuff like that. So I definitely give those a thumbs up in the gotta do list as well too, because sometimes if your company uses like substandard access pins, they can just barely be long enough to fit through your stamped steel receiver, or if you have a milled receiver, it's always good to have them flush or a little bit more flush than what it has on it originally. So I definitely recommend upgrading your access pins. The ones I got in here, I think they're called Power Customs access pins for your trigger and your hammer right there for that. And I think I also, let me see, well, I'm trying to think what else I did to this thing as well too. I also put a new Arsenal hammer spring in there as well too, and the other one was I put a new Arsenal recoil spring in there as well too. This is the last thing, because the other recoil spring was getting it was getting pretty weak. Basically, I took the original one the gun came with, and I put the new one side by side, and the new one, the Arsenal made one, was by probably about another almost an inch longer out there for that. So it helped the gun cycle a little bit more too as well too, and it works perfectly fine for me right now. So that's basically the review I can make about the last and probably the final things I actually did to this gun for that. I may make another video in the future about, like I said before, upgrading the muzzle brake from the typical CRS custom one I have right now, but I might put an SRVV 4-port one on here, because I personally really like that design over the typical American or most American ones out there for that. But I probably won't do that until probably sometime in summer rather. So I'm not gonna really worry about that until later, because the gun's shooting okay, and it's cycling perfectly fine. There's one thing I should say: anytime you got a scope or a red dot on your guns, such as like this one right here, I do recommend sticking with one specific type of ammunition in your gun, because I typically shoot maybe Golden Bear, Silver Bear, Brown Bear, Wolf, WPA, Military Classic, or the black box Wolf stuff out there. And anytime you got a scope, stuff like this, use one specific ammunition type. What I zeroed the scope was, it was the Silver Bear 123 grain bullet, and basically that's what I dialed it in with. Because after I dialed in, basically what I did was I got a box of 124 grain WPA Military Classic, and I just wanted to test to see how it was going to be shooting with that. And it did have different groups for one thing, where I was originally had zero with this scope on here with the Silver Bear, and I also took the the WPA Military Classic, the groups actually shifted up and to the left is a teeny bit, probably about maybe about an inch and a half, and over to the left about another inch right there. So always stick to using one specific ammunition anytime you get your gun zero for the actual scope or red dot or whatever you have out there, because you will have different bullet impact points. Because anytime you change your ammunition out there, it's going to shoot differently in each gun out there, whether you have this gun or you have another version of an AK. Because even if you have two guns or almost identical, say if you had two DDI forged milled AKs that came off the assembly lot, like one was a serial number behind the other one, you take them to range and you have two different boxes of ammunition, even though they're like the same caliber. One's going to shoot over here, the other one's going to shoot over there. It's just simply the way the bullet and the harmonics, and then also with the barrel and stuff like that. You're never going to have identical results for each specific gun out there for that. Your gun will like a specific brand of ammunition, whether you want to spend the time to figure out which one it likes. That's just basically, it can take maybe an hour, 2 hours to do that and stuff like that. But I do recommend trying at least 3 different types of ammunition. You can get brown bear, silver bear, golden bear. Try wolf or try golden tiger out there. Or you can or if you got a lot of money, you can try like we call Lupa ammunition out there. Lupa is probably about the best you can buy. It's basically like Target match grade ammunition, even though it's not match specifically per se, I should say. It's probably about the highest quality and tolerance ammunition you can buy for your AK out there for that, and it'll basically make your gun extremely accurate for that. But for all intents and purposes, it's not really cost effective unless you're actually using it to hunt out there. So if you're just like me, you're going to the range, you're having a good an hour, 2 hours plinking session, and you just want to make sure your gun's shooting okay and stuff like that. I just stick with the regular wolf or the brown bear or some other ammunition like that. I don't recommend buying the tool or any other ammunition out there other than those 3 types I just mentioned right there for that. So that's basically the rundown of the complete finalized DDI AK as well too. I'll give you a list of everything again, which I did to the gun originally from the point of purchase plus the basically now. I put the CRH Customs jet clone muzzle brake on the gun. I put the Bakelite furniture on there. Put a Russian naval sling on here as well too. Got a Bakelite magazine. I put cloth on the rear butt pad back here. I put a Velocic butt pad black one on here as well too. Also got the PKA Venezuelan Red Dot scope. Got a Mark KREBS custom trigger in here. We also got a 2 new springs, the Arsenal hammer spring, the Arsenal recoil spring, and let me see what else I was going to mention. The 2 axis pins. The 2 axis pins, they're are by Power Customs, I believe. They're CNC machined as well too. So that's basically everything that's done to the gun right now. I'd say the gun weighs probably about, feels like maybe about 9 pounds, maybe about 8.5, somewhere around there, with no ammunition, or actually no ammunition in it. There ain't nothing in it right now anyway. So basically I basically put about 100 rounds to the gun up at the cabinet up over the weekend. So that's basically everything that was completely done to it. If anybody has any questions, comments, whatnot about anything I did to it, anything I talked about, or any like gun theory, like which ammunition you like personally, or for your gun out there for that as well too, you can just simply leave me a message here on the bottom of my page, and I'll try answering your questions as soon as I possibly can. So I'll see you guys, and have a nice day.